going for our deepest, darkest, wonderful, most dreamiest of dreams requires being willing to go through the darkness, the breakdowns, the times where it just doesn't seem like it's ever going to happen. And it requires a lot of patience, yikes, courage, work, diligence, persistence, more courage. And how do we keep going? How do we sustain it? How do we keep going for our dreams, our burning desires, our obsessions with the happiest, healthiest of well-being and feelings? And it's like, oh my God, I don't know. And I do know, but it has taken me a long time to figure it out. Is instead of being driven by pain, which I have always been driven by pain since I was a baby, is be driven by passion. And to be driven by passion most of the time requires massive training and experiences and the desire to figure it out, which is what has always driven me. The need to have answers, the need to have big questions about my existence and go, wait, I've got to figure this out. Otherwise, it's not going to go well. And it didn't. And I don't really want to stick around. And I didn't. So this is about being driven by passion versus pain. And yet, the whole time I was driven by pain, I didn't know I was. But the one thing that always stood true is, as a recovering overachiever perfectionist, my first drug of choice, well, those are kind of two drugs, aren't those? Overachievement and perfectionism. You know, the one thing I knew is once I achieved something, I still didn't feel good and I still wasn't happy. I was searching for happiness. I was searching for feeling good inside organically. I was searching for feeling good about myself, but I didn't know that either. Feeling a sense of myself and that my existence mattered and that my reason for living was bigger than just surviving. And I didn't know any of that. All I knew was I was searching for something and I wasn't a happy, playful, joyful little kid. I was very introspective, very extremely introverted, introspective, a deep thinker, and I questioned everything, but silently to myself. I'd ask the questions to myself. And then, of course, I didn't have the answers, so I'm talking to myself with no answers. Very bleak, very dark, very empty. And this is pretty early on. Well, my gosh. Actually, since I was about 1 year old, when my sister left, and I didn't know where she went. So I remember it took me a while to figure out the memory, but that was one of the most devastating experiences of my life, was losing my big sister. So it's not knowing that I was driven by pain most of the time, yet I had all these amazing passions early on, like riding horses. I loved horses. I was so crazy about horses. And then I actually started riding horses and training like a little athlete, starting at the age of 7. So thank goodness I had these deep-seated early passions, but it was always eclipsed and shadowed, trumped by more of the pain. And over time, I realized through a lot of study and asking questions and consulting with experts and paying for the services of experts, therapists, counselors, coaches, little by little the answers came, and I was able to then turn the pain, well, really disappear the pain, and have the passion trump the pain. But if we're disappearing the pain, that allowed the passion to emerge and be my soul, S-O-L-E, S-O-U-L, driving force. And I say force, but I really mean source, with an S, is then creating the ability to be driven by passion and have it be sourced from within. Understanding myself, having a sense of myself, understanding why the pain drove me, but to a fault. The pain kept driving me to get rid of the pain, and the only solution I had in my lostness was killing myself blatantly by suicide to get rid of the pain. But clearly I failed at that. Thank goodness. Thank goodness for all the freaking failures. One failure after another. And now I'm like, bring it on. And these failures can be as small as a little mini breakdown where we feel like we're broken down. And the broken downness, the darkness, is inevitable. But now the passion has me, if I'm driven by passion, then I know on the other side of the breakdown and the darkness is light and the breakthrough, the epiphany, the aha, the realization, the connection, connecting the dots. So transforming the ability to disappear the pain and develop the passion is the key. So passion, it's so well worth it. And truth be told, I didn't think I was going to make it. As a matter of fact, I'm so surprised I did make it. There's so many times I should have been taken out by taking myself out or sabotaging my life so badly, so poorly, so, oh my God, so frighteningly. It's a miracle that I'm even still here. So the great news is I am. Whew! That was a huge wake-up call in itself. Is, my gosh, if I know I shouldn't be here and yet I'm still here, then I've got to believe in something bigger than myself, which I do. I got to believe in something hugely divinely spiritual, and that there is a greater something, greater source, greater force, greater something outside of myself. And so for me, it resonates. It works. I'm not saying every person has to believe that. All I know is when it resonates with me and it feels good to me organically, naturally, like it resonates at a deep, deep level within my core, within my heart, then I go with it. And so this passion, I almost let that die. And it almost did die. As a matter of fact, it was all unconscious though. I had no conscious awareness that in my pain, I was killing off my greatest, most inherent divine passions within my soul and my spirit. And whew, good thing I never gave up. That at some level, I don't know how to explain it, I kept searching, but it was with the help of all the geniuses, all the brilliant human beings out there, and the friends and the people who cared about me when I didn't care about myself, that got me to the next level. It was other human beings. And for that, I'm eternally grateful. And yet, I hated myself. Then I projected that outward by default. Again, unconsciously. That means I'd hate other human beings. And that didn't work. Again, driven by pain, to transform the hate into love by understanding myself and falling madly, passionately in love with myself and my inner child. I then projected the love for other human beings and humanity as a whole. And now I choose that, to actually see all the good. And there's still bad out there. And human beings that make the poorest of choices. Ugh, the creepiest of choices. But overall, I'm going to choose to understand myself more and more, and that just automatically has me understand the good, the bad, the ugly with other human beings. And essentially, to love myself is to love everyone and everything outside of myself, which I choose that because it comes with more happiness. It comes with more peace and fulfillment. It comes with more feel good. It comes with more, it is worth it. Life is worth it, that there is a reason for me. And I only need to believe that within myself, and I don't have to have anyone agree with me or praise me or acknowledge me for that. It's something sacred to myself. And again, that works for me. And it keeps me going. It keeps fueling my passions more and more and more, to where, wow, I have more passion today than I ever have in my whole entire life. And that blows my freaking mind. It blows my freaking heart. It blows me away to such a degree that I don't even have words to describe how magical and miraculous and beyond belief it is. And who knew? Is that even possible? Yes, it is so possible and highly probable, if we just keep going and understand that the sustainability lies in the ability to make it through the darkness, the emptiness, the breakdowns, the failures, the mistakes. Because, the great news is they're all so based on our perceptions and subjectivity. Do I see my failures as epic failures, or do I see them as, wow? Do I see them as things of, like, thank you, signs of awakening? To go, oh, okay, that didn't work. Not going to do that again. And be able to reframe it in such a way that I can perceive it as not even a mistake. It just is, wow, I tried something, it didn't work, it didn't make me feel good. Pivot. But I'm glad I went through it, because the one thing I do know is the more we experience the mistakes and the failures, and then we have the ability with the conscious mind to reframe it and see all the good in it, that's what keeps us going. And then really staying in touch with and connected to the passion that we had in the first place. And that's the most incredible thing that has worked for me. And to own our passions, again, without having to prove anything, without having to get any acknowledgement outside of ourselves, is just to do it because it makes us feel good and it's close to our heart. And so that would be the biggest example of that for me is dancing. Dancing, 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 dancing. This has been something that I've loved so much since I was a kid, but I never, ever, ever allowed that part of myself to be developed, even though I tried, to allow it to emerge. And I remember being able to copy what I would see on the TV. You know, when I saw dancers, I could copy it. I could see it and copy it. And then I tried to take dance classes, but I failed every time. I was too embarrassed. I was too ashamed. I cared more about what other people thought of me. And, you know, when they're just paying attention to themselves and trying to learn the steps within their own minds, they weren't worried about me. They were worried about themselves. And yet I let that stop me. I cared too much about looking better and proving that I wasn't worthless. So it was a masking of pain, and I just quit because it was too painful. It was too much to take, the humiliation, the shame of not feeling good enough and not being able to catch on and not be able to pick up the steps or understand what the teacher was doing. And I tried a couple of times, and then I just let it go. Now, I loved horses and riding horses, but to me, that is really dancing in my body through the horse. It is making the horse dance instead of me with no horse being able to dance within my own body. And so, you know, as time went on, little by little, I was an athlete and I played all the sports in school, and I was actually pretty good, natural athlete. But I started training early, so I'm riding horses, but I'm just thinking, where did this dance thing come? It was always there, but it was hugely suppressed, and I was so repressed. And I remember in high school, I wanted to be a cheerleader. That was the closest to dance there was, but I didn't have the courage, and I played it safe, and I played sports because that's all I knew. And yet my heart wanted to cheer, wanted to dance. And I remember in junior high choreographing a dance. Wow. I just remember that, you know, for my friends, because I just wanted to do it because I don't know, I just loved it so much. So dance was always in me, but it was so buried under all these negative feelings and associations I had with it. It came with too much pain. So it was there all along. And I believe that our passions start early on in our childhood, and we'll either bury them or not, and then everything else in between. And so my passion, you know, of course, my passion for horses, still there, obviously. But this deep, deep, deep passion, and I gotta say a gift. It's like something inside me that I can't even express, is somehow my body as an instrument. When I hear certain music, especially, it makes me want to dance. There's something that happens. And to be able to express myself through this particular art form makes me feel so good. But then if we just talk about, you know, the science behind it, if we know that by objective-based exercise we can create, it has a hormonal effect, a happy hormone effect. You know, we are able to create dopamine and serotonin and oxytocin and the endorphins, the natural painkillers. We're able to create these happy hormones with exercise, and especially objective-based. So that means we're stimulating the brain, and we're asking our brain to work. And sure enough, it does. It creates feeling good backed by the happy hormone effect, and I'll take it. And it doesn't have to be dancing. It could be any sport or exercise. When we have objectives, we set an intention or a goal and we strive to meet that goal, that is objective based. To win or lose, to do how many push-ups, to work out and train, our legs or our upper body, and to create a certain amount of lean muscle mass and decrease our percentage body fat. All those are examples of the objective goal, which is awesome. A little side note, just don't define yourself by that. Don't attach yourself and define yourself by the numbers, because that really messes things up. Just have to throw that in, but that's yikes. 1 million podcasts for another day, because this is about passion. And so understanding, I don't even know where I was going with that, but we can just say, or I can just say, that allowing the passions and developing the passions for no other reason except it fuels our spirit, our soul, our beingness, and it makes us happy organically. And then we throw in the happy hormonal effect. I mean, it's a win-win. It's like a no-brainer, really. So dancing for myself has finally been the way. Before, I was dancing to prove something. I was dancing to prove I was good enough, and that I was looking for external acknowledgement and external praise through my dancing. And now I've been able to transform that and know that it's just for me. And that I do it not to prove anything, but I do it because it makes me super duper beyond belief happy. And I can't, again, it's like a euphoric feeling. It's like ecstasy without anything. And I take it. That's what I'm going to do. And it's part of who I am and within my beingness. So to dance for me is to express myself my way, whether you like it or not, whether you care or not, whether you laugh at me or not, or make fun of me or shame me or not. Oh, it's happening. And that attitude has been really, really uplifting and amazing for me. And wow, but it's taken just way so long to figure this out. And in that passion, I'm able to help myself in a healthy way, make it through the breakdowns, the times where it's like, oh my gosh, to help me sustain my dreams and reconnect me to the passion, not just for dance, but for my life, my purpose and my purpose, our purposes, I can have several, but my grand purpose in life, connect that to the passion, connect passion to everything. Like really, across the board is reconnecting to the passion and going with that. And we must, if we're going for our dreams, we have to be in a healthy, happy relationship to and with our passion. And we can have many passions, but I realize too, for me, I do have a lot of passions. However, do I want to be the jack of all trades of a lot of passions, or do I want to be the master of one or two passions, even just one? And I choose that now. I choose my greatest passion, which is dance, tied to there's some inherent gift somehow. And then, the horses are a great passion. That's a passion that's outside of me, so to speak. And that'll never go away either. Like I said, I have a lot of different passions, but I know that to focus and concentrate on the one nearest and dearest to me that overall gives me the greatest benefits is the one that I stick with. And that then helps me to stay in alignment and committed to my other passions in life. And yes, there, at a certain point, if we're going to be master of something or really proficient, we do have to let go of certain other things and make what I call sacred choices. And I got that from, that's my thing that I came up with in terms of the word sacrifice, to let certain things go in order to be most proficient in one or two, is to let all the less passionate things go, which is hard, which is really, really difficult. And for me, it works because I know that for me to become better and better for myself, even in the realm of dance and riding horses, that's what makes me the happiest, if I just sit and be with that. And that means I have to let other things go. But this is really about being driven by passion most of the time, staying connected to my passions, and using that as the fuel and the source to continue the other passions that I have in life without getting too distracted and off track, off course. And that means the willingness to let go of the things and even humans that aren't in alignment with my greatest, most devout, divine passions. So there's always the other side of the coin, the flip side of the coin, the double-edged sword, trying to have it all, and yet is that even possible? Yes, but it takes a lot of letting go of other things to have all the things that we want. And now it's getting a little like, whoa, like I can, in my head, I'm like, oh my gosh, it's not having it all. It's having it all on our terms. It's having it all on the most passionate level. So then having it all might just be 3 passionate aspects of life. And that's okay too. It's whatever works best for you. So then I'll take it back to me. It's whatever resonates at the highest vibrational level and frequency for me. And, if there's only so much time in a day and only so much time in the human life this time around, then I choose to be super conscious as to where I put myself and where I spend my time. And then I'm going to say, I'm going to put my time and energy and effort into my greatest passions and keep with the biggest ones. Because that means then for me, I can be proud of myself for those passions, which then means I have to be conscious of what I'm willing to let go of and still bring myself back to center in terms of remembering, oh, this is what you're most passionate about, because I often get distracted and lost going, what am I doing? And I go, oh my gosh, I sit tight, I work with it, I journal and face it. And it brings me right back to my core passions and the things that are most important to me. And really, I say the things that are most priceless, that you can't put a price on. And to be so connected to our deepest, profound passion and passions is very sacred. And that's what this is about today, is really uncovering, rediscovering your passions, even if you don't know what they are or you have several, to connect to your most prolific, your most profound, your deepest core passion or passions. I highly recommend it. It's it puts us on a level that words can never ever describe, and we can't even get the feelings. Like, I'm at a loss because I can't even articulate the feelings I get just with that relationship to passion. And we now have those perceptive filters. We have those beliefs within ourselves, and that's what ends up emanating and coming forth, and we exude this lightness of being, this exuberance, this electricity of the highest vibrational frequency. And when that's sent out, and it's really almost, it's subconscious, but it's an unconscious phenomenon when we don't even think about it. There's no conscious awareness, but that frequency is being sent out over and over and over again. I live it, I experience it, I know it's happening. And when I'm sending out that frequency, when you're sending out that frequency, because you're so closely connected and intimate with those passions, that's what other human beings pick up on, even other beings, animals, that is sent out, and it actually can attract more magic and more opportunities and more wealth and riches and soulmates and you name it. That's what ultimately sources the law of attraction, but what I call the magnetic force or magnetic source of all of your dreams, the dreams that we have that serve us, that make us happy organically. That's when you're a magnet for prosperity. You're a magnet for your dreams. You're a magnet for everyone and everything you desire most, that you have a burning desire for, again, in a way that everyone and everything around us wins, that everything and everyone around us, ourselves first and foremost, self, feels these feelings that are so magnificent that we can't even describe it. And that's what this is about. And that refueling the passion from within, that's where it will always be sourced from. That's where it is sourced by, is the deep, profound connection to self and understanding self. Understanding how our brain and our mind work against us based on fear, and being able to override that and transform it and eventually transcend it. And that transcendence is really the ability to think and grow rich, the ability to have the subconscious thoughts be fueled by the subconscious emotions and feelings tied to our desires and our dreams. And as those vibrational frequencies are sent out, brains pick up the frequency of other brains, the vibrations of other brains, and that's where the magic occurs, and it comes toward us with the least amount of effort. So the thing I can leave you with here is really, really staying so closely married to your deepest, most profound passions or passion, and never wavering from that. And have whatever drives you be from your organic, inherent, innate passion and passions. Be driven by that, and all the while training to disappear and let go of the unconscious pain that is there. And that's the only way this can work, is healing the unconscious pain and developing the passion simultaneously. And they're done at the same time. This is not an either or, it's an and. And I can't tell you how vitally intoxicating and compelling and wonderful it is. So stay close to your relationship to and with yourself, your inner child, the inner young adult, and that will have you stay tied to your passion. And if you don't know your deepest of passions, then continue seeking and uncovering that, and that'll do it. So I just leave you with, I wish you such an amazing, profound relationship to and with yourself and your passion. And thank you so much for listening. This was an impromptu podcast that I said, I'm just going to record this because this is what was on the top of my mind and heart this morning. And I just wanted to share it. So thank you. Karen Lovely at Gmail, comments, anything you'd like to say or share. I'd love to hear from you. Thank you for listening to my podcast and being part of that. And here's to your dreamiest, most incredible passions forever and always. Thank you so much.